Okay guys, this is the review 6.6 coming up for our assessment on quadratic equations, solving quadratic equations. So the first problem here, factor by grouping. Grouping is just a fancy word for greatest common factor, but you do it 2 times. The first two factors look like they have a 3x in common. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared, so plus 5. Bring down that plus sign. It looks like the next thing I can factor a 2, and I'm left as 2x plus 5 equals 0. So this means that 3x plus 2 times 2x plus 5 equals 0. This problem said solve. I'm not done until I have a solution. So my solution is by setting each factor equal to 0. When 3x plus 2 equals 0, that means that 3x equal negative 2, x equal negative 2/3. That is one solution. The next solution is when 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. That means that 2x is negative 5, x is negative 5 over 2. So negative 5/2 and negative 2/3 are the two solutions. Problem number 2 is to solve by factoring. So this is a trinomial with a 1 in front, so this will factor if I can find two numbers that multiply to give me negative 45 and add or subtract to give me a negative 4. Factors of 45 are 1 in 45. So 1 in 45, 3 and 15, or 5 and 9, and then I start repeating. So I can tell it's going to be 9 and 5, and if the 9 were negative, those two numbers multiply to negative 45 and they add to negative 4. So that means that my factorization is x minus 9, x plus 5 equals 0. That means that x is equal to 9 or negative 5. I can check this answer when I FOIL these things right here. So if I were to FOIL that, I would get x squared minus 9x plus 5x minus 45, or x squared minus 4x minus 45. So that is the correct factorization and solution. The next one here, I need to solve this. So this will solve if I can find two numbers that multiply to give me whatever 2 times 15 is. So I need two numbers that multiply to 30 and add to give me an 11. So you do this after a while and you get the hang of that is going to be 6 and 5. Those numbers multiply to 30 and add to 11. So I will take this equation and I will rewrite it as 15x squared plus 6x plus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Now you could have written it plus 5x plus 6x. It does not matter. Now we're going to factor by grouping, which means look at the first two terms, look at the second two terms. The first two terms, it looks like they have an x in common and a 3, so a 3x. So that's going to leave me 5x plus 2 plus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Now I see a 5x plus 2 in both terms, so this is 5x plus 2 times 3x plus 1 equals 0. If I set each of those equal to 0, I will get x is equal to negative 2/5 and x is equal to negative 1/3 by setting each of those equal to 0. Okay. Next two problems, I'm being told to use the quadratic formula. So I will write down the quadratic formula. X is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. So if I break this into steps, b squared minus 4ac. So in this problem, a is equal to 5, b is equal to 9. And if I write this 5x squared plus 9x plus 7 equals 0, to solve quadratic equation, it needs to be equal to 0. C is equal to 7. So b squared minus 4ac, that's 9 squared minus 4 times 5 times 7, that's 81, minus, this is 20 times 7, so that's 140. So 81 minus 140, and so that's going to be negative 59. I'm going to double check that. 81 minus 140 is negative 59. So negative 59. So my discriminant is negative. I know this is going to be complex numbers. So if I go ahead and substitute into the quadratic formula, x is negative b. So that's going to be negative 9 plus or minus square root of negative 59. And all of that divided by 2a, which is 5. And so in this case, this is x equal negative 9 plus or minus, I'm going to write I times the square root of 59 over 10. And that is as far as I can go with that. 59 is a prime number. So again, you could leave your answer like this. There's really no simplification on this one, or you could break it up and say x is negative 9 over 10 plus or minus I over 10, all of that times the square root of 59. So either of these is an acceptable answer in this case. The next one, solve this with the quadratic formula. So in this case, a is equal to 2, b is equal to negative 5, c is equal to negative 7. So b squared minus 4ac is negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 7. So that is 25 plus, so this is, so 25 plus 56. So yeah, that's 4 times 14. So yeah, so 25 plus 56 is 81. Okay. So this is 81. So if I substitute all of this in, I will get x equal negative b, that's 5, plus or minus the square root of 81. All of that over 2a, which is 2 times 2. So this is 5 plus or minus 9 over 4. So the two answers are x equal 5 plus 9 over 4. So that's 14 over 4, or 7 halves. So that's one answer, 7 halves. And then if I take x equal 5 minus 9 over 4, that is negative 4 over 4, which is negative 1. So your answers are x equals 7 halves or negative 1. And if you wanted to check this, you could plug those numbers in. If I plugged in a negative 1, I would get 2 plus 5, that's 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. And I'm not going to plug in 7 halves. You could do that and it should be the right answer. So I'll pause here and come back and do the next page.